most people's bodies are, not particularly up to par, and I don't necessarily want to look at complete strangers' bodies. I mean, I sometimes catch sight of myself in the mirror and be violently ill.
I accept what I am, humps, bumps, big belly, whatever it happens to be, big bum, whatever you happen to have.
Humps, bumps and big bellies, whatever you happen to have. So there is obviously a lighter side to this, but there's a more serious side too, because I think some people have very different views on being nude, getting it all out, and we mean in a legal way, of course. Nicola Weir and Cass Hawkins are still there. I'm going to start with Nicola on this one as well for a very specific reason.
Dear.
If
you say anything that I told you today in the office, I will kill you.
How, when it comes to you and nudism, being naked in your house, you tell me, what do you do?
You totally put me on the spot here.
Sometimes silence says it all.
I am quite partial to stripping off in the house. Now, not downstairs, because I would never want anybody, the postman or my mother-in-law, to peek through the window and see me dandering around. But upstairs, yes, I would quite often dander about in the nude.
So what do you say if your mother-in-law, for example, is listening tonight?
I hope she's not listening, but that's why I do not go down the stairs unless, there is some kind of emergency. But I have to tell you that there was a time when I did iron in the nude, and I never did it again because I burnt my stomach. So I did not do that again. But that was many a moon ago, when my body was probably in a lot better shape than it is nowadays.
I need to tell you about Nicola, because you're not very tall.
I'm not.
My
ironing board was probably one of those wee children's ones. But I
really want to say something that's totally inappropriate.
Please don't.
But I think through the power of radio, you can read my mind. Anyway, so you do strip off in the house.
I do.
And your family do see you?
I'm sure they do, yes.
And how do they react?
Well, as you know, Vinny, I have got children who are teenagers. I would shout warnings. I would go, don't come out of your room if you don't want to see anything.
That sounds like a threat. So you walk around the upstairs floor of your house.
Yes.
And you run around naked, shouting, "Stay in your rooms, or you're going to see everything."
Yes, probably. Well, I mean, I only do that to warn my son. However, I'm sure probably he would be horrified. But I mean, I don't see. I certainly wouldn't go to a nudist beach, because I am definitely on William's side, that I think I don't really particularly like seeing my own bits, and I don't really want. I think it's unfair to subject them onto other people.
You do if you're running around. You're madly in love with your bits. If you're
but in the privacy of my own home. And also, I want to make sure that my children know that the human body is absolutely nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed about. And I think that's a very strong message to send to your children, that I'm not ashamed of my body. Don't be ashamed of your body, your lumps and bumps and wobbles and things like that there. And again, it is within my own family. I'm not subjecting it onto my in-laws or some mad random. I mean, I'm not doing the gardening in the nude.
But to counteract all of that, I am not really hugely proud of my GCSEs, but it doesn't mean I want to show them to everyone and sundry in my house. Kaz, you have been to a nudist beach.
Yes, I have.
Was I meant to share that?
No, we weren't, but we're here now.
I'm really working it tonight, aren't I?
Yes, thanks for that. He's actually sweating.
Yeah.
I am.
Doesn't know where this is going.
I can't look you in the eye when we're talking about this, but how do you feel about the whole thing? Do you walk around your house naked like Nicola?
No, I don't. I actually am quite shy. I mean, there's only David and I in the house. Unless the kids are coming to stay, and when I have my grandkids, I'm zippered up to the neck, and it's just because he's a young boy, and I'm the granny. I'm supposed to, it's supposed to be.
It would be horrific if he went into school and he said, "What did you do this weekend at your granny's?" Well, Granny was naked.
No,
I would say there'd be social services at your door.
You're making my forehead sweat. I don't really know what to say now.
Yeah, so at home, I'm very respectful, and him indoors is a very straight-laced kind of man. So,
right.
he thinks I'm crazy as it is. I don't really need to be running around naked to add to the situation.
I was going to say that just whenever you were talking about that actually did happen to me. And that we were away on holidays and it was very, very, very hot. And I have to say that this was a private place that we were at and we had our own private pool, so I didn't subject myself. But it was very, very hot and the air conditioning wasn't working. And it was a few years ago, and I decided, oh, that pool looks lovely, and I stripped everything off and I jumped in, and then my kids ran out and saw me and they stripped off and they jumped in, and I thought, oh, this is a lovely thing to do. But you know, whenever they go back to school, they say, what did you do on your holidays?
Yeah.
Well, that was very fun for the teacher whenever my son stood up and read, and my mum took off all her clothes and jumped into the pool, but didn't actually say it was a private pool and nobody else saw her.
Yeah, so, it's from the mouths of babes.
Of course,
let's face it.
I didn't realise he had actually unleashed this onto the classroom until I went to the parent-teachers meeting.
Yeah. Well,
which made for an interesting chat.
It's all about perception as well, and how, because we're all so different and we all look at ourselves and each other in a different way.
Yeah.
But I am intrigued that you are very happy, kind of content with your body in the house, among your family.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like you're sitting having dinner or like on the sofa watching Coronation Street in the nip. Because that's not what you're doing.
I wouldn't tell you.
Oh, you don't, do you?
He's actually trying to work out if you do
I have a TV up the stairs.
Do you listen to this programme on a Monday night usually?
No, she's that busy doing her ironing naked.
I know, careful. Yeah.
That was years ago.
Yeah, watch where that iron goes. But
when I went to a nudist beach,
yeah,
I was quite surprised at my reaction. I went all little girl tee-hee, and I was trying not to look, but somehow I kept trying to get a gander at these guys.
Because that's one of the things that nudists will say. If you're a proper naturist,
doesn't matter.
It's not really about sex. It's about freedom and
I can
feeling
understand
that kind of release and that shedding your clothes and being without. Stop
I think it's very liberating.
Yes.
You know, I get that, and I'm all for that. You know, I agree. That guy says, you know, I'm just not. If they're up for it, then fair play. But I'm just not one of them. But I have went topless. You know.
And how did you feel about that?
I felt, you know, uncomfortable and kind of try to put the cast face on, you know, toughen up and, you know, and not even when you're big breasted, you know, I got to flip them over a few times. So it's harder for me.
And with that, Vinny was never allowed on Radio Ulster again. See, I once was on a nudist beach in Australia, but it was purely by accident. And I was on it's called Magnetic Island, and I walked onto the beach. It was very quiet. I think it was maybe winter, which is like our summer.
Yeah.
And I was lying on the beach, I was on my own, and this man walked past, and he was maybe in his late 60s, and he wasn't wearing a stitch. He was wearing sandals. He was very sensible. I remember thinking, this is
a sand to burn you.
This is a bit bizarre. You didn't want to get yourself burnt. Hope you had plenty of sun cream on. This is a bit bizarre, and I felt very uncomfortable.
Yes.
And it wasn't then until I went and was leaving the beach, I saw the sign that I'd missed to come in a different entrance that said, "This is a nudist beach," and I thought, well, that's why that man was there.
Yes.
Which is why this beach in Dublin is maybe a good thing, because people, if they go to that beach, they know what to expect. There's no surprises, and there's no people that are judging you by looking at you going, look at you with your bits flopping about.
I think whatever floats your boat, as William says, 100%. I think that
who are we to judge?
I think it's wonderful that people are so comfortable with their bodies that they're able to do that. I personally just would not subject my bits onto anybody.
There's
You
us
do
talking
in your
earlier
house.
on
Yes,
about
but I'm talking about
walking
around
around the house telling your son to shut his door, or he's going to see.
No, I'm talking about
everything.
Strangers. I just don't think it's fair, and I
Not
think
fair on your son,
and they would probably lose their lunch. And even whenever I was younger, probably I wouldn't have done that either, because I just wouldn't have felt comfortable with it. But I think it is absolutely superb that people feel so
but
comfortable
you know,
with themselves.
are we looking at a nudist channel anytime soon? You know, is it going to come on TV at any given time, and we have to pay to subscribe?
I think that's okay. Well, yeah.
I think there are channels, but we'll not go
not those kind of channels.
It's maybe something slightly different there.
I think Europeans are very open too, which I'm learning. You know, when I'm on tour, their mindset is completely free of
I think we're particularly conservative here.
We are very, very conservative here. You know, we're still very judgmental of ourselves and each other.
Well, it's meant to be a nice weekend this weekend, so you might, I might get the lawnmower out.
If you see her,
what
you see her
We've had a wee message there from Ballymena Council. Which one's that? They say
Mid-and-East tantrum.
if you live within 3 miles of Nicola, you're going to get a rate relief on your next bill. You'll get a rebate. Nicola Weir and Kaz Hawkins, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm sweating and I have a sore side.
He is actually genuinely sweating.
Always a sign of a good night out. Nicola and Kaz, thank you very much. Thanks to Studio 8
Bye.
as well. Thanks to producer Seamus. Thanks to Harry Hamilton. Podcast will be up later on in the week. I'll leave you with another little taster of Queen. And don't forget, Eve Blair is up next after your news at 11 o'clock. Until next Monday at 10. Bye-bye.
Anybody find me?
This
Somebody to love
is the Vinnie Hurl Show
on BBC Radio Ulster.